The fluorescent lights in H-E-B always made everyone look a little guilty. Like the store itself knew the secrets people tried to hide inside carts. The "I deserve this impulse buys," the tired parent shortcuts, the quiet little luxuries that kept you sane when your life felt like one long shift with no clock out. Marisol Reyes didn't feel guilty pushing her cart down the back-to-school aisle. She felt tired, determined, a little bit proud even, because she'd made it work. She had 2 kids. Sophia was 8, and in that phase where she'd outgrown half her wardrobe overnight. Mateo was 5 and still wearing jeans like he planned to fight a bear in them. Texas heat or not. And today was school supplies day. Not the cute Pinterest version with matching labels and color-coded binders. The real version. Pencils, glue sticks, deodorant for Sophia because kids at school could be cruel, and those plain, sturdy sneakers that didn't fall apart after a week of recess. Nothing dramatic, nothing glamorous, just necessary. Marisol checked the list on her phone, written in her own neat handwriting because if she didn't keep things organized, the world would turn into noise. She grabbed the sneakers first. Black, affordable. Not the brand Sophia begged for, but not the ones that looked like they came from a lost-and-found bin either. Sophia's eyes lit up. "Mom, these are actually cute." "They're not cute," Marisol said, smiling despite herself. "They're survivor shoes." Sophia giggled and hugged the box to her chest like it was treasure. Mateo was doing laps around the cart. "Can I get chips? Can I get a toy? Can I get a sword?" "A sword is not on the list," Marisol said, steering him away from a display of plastic footballs. "Focus, soldier." "Soldier," Mateo repeated proudly, then saluted so hard his elbow almost hit a shelf. Marisol laughed, and for half a second, everything felt light. Normal. Then her phone buzzed. A single vibration. Sharp, like a warning shot. She didn't even have to look to know. She stared at the screen as if it might magically be someone else. A friend. Her mom. A school reminder. Anything but him. But it was him. A text, short enough to be cruel. "Diego, why are you at H-E-B?" Marisol's throat tightened. Her first instinct was to lie. Not because she was doing anything wrong, but because truth had started to feel like something Diego used against her. She typed back anyway. Marisol. School supplies. Shoes for Sophia. Jeans for Mateo. The bubble appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Diego. Did you ask first? Marisol stared at the words until they blurred. Around her, the store moved like a living organism. Carts squeaked. Babies cried. Someone laughed loudly near the bakery. And Marisol, standing there with her kids and a box of shoes, felt like she was holding her breath underwater. She wrote the truth because she was tired of the dance. Marisol. They need them. No emojis, no softness, just facts. Another vibration. Diego. Put everything back. I set a limit. Marisol's heart didn't race, it sank. A limit. As if she was a teenager with a prepaid card. As if she hadn't spent the last decade building this family with him. Sophia tugged her sleeve. "Mom, we're good, right?" Marisol forced a smile so hard it hurt. "Yeah, mija. We're good." She pushed the cart forward because what else could she do? Stand still and let Diego's rules choke the air out of her right there in aisle 17? Her phone buzzed again. This time, not a text. A notification. Card declined. Not even at the register yet. Diego had done it remotely, like flipping off a light switch. Marisol felt heat crawl up her neck. Sophia didn't notice, thank God. Mateo was busy making spaceship noises with a pack of crayons. Marisol swallowed and kept walking. But the store's bright lights suddenly felt like an interrogation lamp, because she knew what was coming next. Diego wasn't going to wait until she got home. Diego liked the humiliation fresh. Once upon a time, Diego Reyes was the kind of man people called solid. Not perfect, not flashy, just steady, reliable, the one who showed up. They met in South Texas the way a lot of people did, through family, through friends, through a web of barbecues and birthdays and church events where everyone knew your auntie before they knew you. Marisol was 22, working 2 jobs, mornings at a dental office, evenings helping her mom with a catering business. She had the kind of beauty that didn't ask permission, dark eyes that held their ground, hair thick as a promise, a laugh that made tired rooms feel awake. Diego was 25, an electrician apprentice with calloused hands and a smile that always looked like it was holding back a joke. He flirted with her like it was a sport. "You always look mad," he told her the first time they really spoke. "I'm not mad," Marisol said. "Then you're serious," Diego replied. "That's worse." She rolled her eyes. "Why is that worse?" "Because serious women break hearts," Diego said, and grinned like he didn't mind the risk. They fell fast, not movie fast, but real fast. The kind of fast that happens when you're already exhausted from life and suddenly someone feels like a place to rest. They moved into a small apartment near San Antonio. Cheap rent, thin walls, neighbors who argued loudly in Spanish and English like they were bilingual just for drama. Marisol got pregnant with Sophia before they even had matching plates. It should have been scary. But Diego was happy, almost reckless with joy. He painted the nursery himself, half the walls crooked because he refused to use the tape Marisol bought. "Tape is for people who don't trust their hands," he said. Marisol laughed and leaned against the doorframe, watching him. "Your hands are going to get us evicted." "Worth it," Diego replied, smearing paint on his cheek like war paint. When Sophia was born, Diego cried so hard the nurse handed him tissues like she'd seen 100 men fall apart that way and knew it meant something. He held Sophia and whispered, "I got you. I got you. I got you." And Marisol believed him, because at that time, he did. The first few years were a blur. Diapers, bills, overtime shifts. Diego hustled like a man trying to outrun gravity. Marisol learned the art of stretching a grocery budget so far it should have won awards. Then came the debt. Not one big disaster. 1,000 small ones. A car repair that ate the savings. Medical bills after Sophia got pneumonia. A credit card they used just this once that turned into, "We'll pay it next month," that turned into, "How is it still this high?" They were drowning and pretending they weren't. Diego hated that feeling. He hated opening the mailbox like it was a trap. He hated Marisol's quiet face when she did the math. One night, when Sophia was asleep and the apartment smelled like beans and cheap detergent, Diego slammed a bill on the table and said, "I'm done with this." Marisol didn't look up. "Done with what?" "Done being broke," Diego said. "Done with the fear. Done with this." He didn't mean her. Not then. He meant the shame. He took a second job. Then a third. He studied at night for certifications. He started bringing home cash envelopes and laying them on the counter like proof of victory. "Look," he'd say, eyes bright. "Look what I did." And Marisol, exhausted and grateful, would kiss his cheek and say, "You're amazing." He became the hero of the story, the man who pulled them out, the man who saved them. It changed something in him, something small at first, like a seed, because when people start calling you the reason the ship didn't sink, you start believing you're the captain, even when you're not. The first time Diego checked Marisol's phone, it wasn't dramatic. She was in the kitchen making a rose, Sophia doing homework at the table, Mateo still a toddler with sticky hands. Diego leaned against the counter, watching Marisol scroll through her bank app. "You keep track of everything?" he asked. Marisol nodded. "Yeah, it helps. I like knowing what's coming." Diego stepped closer. "Let me see." Marisol paused. "Why?" Diego shrugged, casual. "Just want to understand." Marisol handed him the phone, thinking nothing of it. Diego's thumb moved too fast. He scrolled like he was hunting. "What's this?" he asked, pointing. Marisol leaned in. That was the pharmacy. Mateo's cough medicine. Diego hummed like a judge. "And this?" Target, socks. Sophia needed them. Diego's mouth tightened. You could have bought cheaper. Marisol blinked. They were cheap. Diego handed the phone back, but his eyes stayed sharp. We need a system. A system? Marisol repeated, amused. We already have one. We pay bills. We buy food. We survive. Diego shook his head. No, like rules, because we can't go back to what we were. Marisol understood that fear. She lived with it too. So she didn't fight him. Not yet. They made a budget. It was actually a good idea. At first, a spreadsheet, categories, savings goals. Diego seemed proud, like he'd built a fence around their future, and Marisol felt safe. For a while. Then the fence got taller. Diego opened a new checking account for bills, then another for savings. Then he said it would be simpler if his paycheck went into the main account and Marisol had a separate spending account. Just so we don't mix things, he said. Less confusion. Marisol didn't like it, but she told herself it was practical. Diego was the one who understood money better, right? Diego was the hero. Then he downloaded an app that sent notifications for every purchase. I like transparency, he said. Marisol smiled weakly. Transparency is not the same as surveillance. Diego laughed like she was being dramatic. Surveillance. Babe, I'm protecting us. That phrase, protecting us, became his favorite weapon, because it sounded like love, even when it wasn't. It started with comments. Marisol would come home with groceries and Diego would point at a bag. What's that? Fruit, Marisol said. We already had fruit, Diego replied. Marisol would sigh. We had bananas that were basically wine. Diego's eyes would narrow. That's $30 right there. You don't think it adds up? Marisol would look at the kids who were listening even when they pretended not to, and she'd swallow her answer. Because fighting in front of them felt wrong. Because Diego had that ability to turn any disagreement into a courtroom scene where he was always the one holding the evidence. Sometimes he'd do it in Spanish, like switching languages made it sharper. ¿Qué haces, Mari? He'd say, looking at a receipt like it insulted him. Do you even think? And Marisol would feel herself shrinking, pixel by pixel. But she still had love for him. Real love. Complicated love. She remembered the Diego who kissed Sophia's forehead when she had nightmares. The Diego who carried Mateo on his shoulders at the zoo like he was proud to be a dad. So she tried. She told herself, he's stressed, he's scared, he's trying to protect the family. And Diego loved that narrative, because it made him righteous. Then came the limits. At first, they were small. Try not to spend more than $50 on groceries today. Fine. Then, no purchases over $20 without telling me. Annoying, but maybe manageable. Then, I'll just set the card to a daily limit, and if you need more, you ask. He said it like he was offering her help. Marisol stared at him. That's not normal. Diego smiled, soft and convincing. Normal is being broke, Mari. You want to go back to normal. That fear. Do you want to go back? Still worked on her. For a while. Until the day Sophia needed deodorant. The kid-safe kind because Sophia's skin was sensitive. Also because Sophia was starting to understand what it meant to be embarrassed in front of classmates. Marisol bought it without texting Diego. It was $9. $9. Diego found the transaction that same afternoon. He didn't yell at first. He waited. When Marisol came home, Diego was sitting at the kitchen table with his phone in front of him like a judge with a gavel. Sophia and Mateo were in the living room, watching cartoons. Marisol could hear their laughter, bright, unaware. Diego tapped the screen. What's this? Marisol set down her purse. Deodorant for Sophia. Diego's face hardened. You didn't ask. Marisol's patience thinned. It's deodorant, Diego, not a jet ski. Diego stood up slowly. Don't get smart with me. Marisol's mouth went dry. She could smell his cologne, the one she used to like. Now it smelled like tension. She needed it, Marisol insisted. Diego's voice dropped into something colder. You don't get to decide what's needed alone. Marisol blinked. She's our daughter. Diego leaned closer. And this is our money. Marisol felt her anger rise, hot, clean, sharp. Then act like it, because right now you're acting like it's yours. Diego stared at her, and then he did something that hurt worse than yelling. He laughed. Not funny, not warm. A laugh that said, "You don't get it. You don't get to win." He walked to the fridge, opened it, and took out a folded envelope. Cash. He held it up. Here, $10, since you can't control yourself. Marisol froze. What are you doing? Diego waved it slightly like he was offering a dog a treat. You wanted deodorant. Here. Next time, ask first. Marisol felt something crack inside her. Not loud, not dramatic, just a clean break. Because that wasn't budgeting. That was humiliation. And Diego did it like it was discipline. Back at HEB, Marisol tried to keep her face neutral. She grabbed glue sticks, a pack of pencils, a notebook with a bright cover Sophia picked because it looks happy. She avoided the expensive stuff. She avoided the cute stuff. She avoided anything Diego could twist into an argument. And still, her phone buzzed again. Diego. I'm checking the account. Don't test me. Marisol's fingers went cold around the cart handle. Sophia looked up. Mom, can I get these markers? Miss Patel said we need them. Marisol glanced at the markers. $12. She imagined Diego's face, his tone, his little lecture about how you always find excuses. Marisol forced a smile. Let's see. Mateo bounced. Markers! Markers! Marisol put them in the cart. Immediately the phone buzzed again. Diego. I said stop. And then her phone rang. A call. Marisol stared at the name on the screen like it was a snake. Sophia frowned. Is that Dad? Marisol swallowed. Yeah, baby. Mateo did a dramatic whisper. Uh-oh. Marisol stepped aside, away from the kids, and answered. Hello? Diego's voice came through tight, controlled, dangerous in the way control can be. What are you doing? He asked. Marisol kept her voice calm. Buying school supplies. I told you to put everything back, Diego said like he was explaining something to a child. Marisol's throat tightened. Diego, they need this. They need a mother who can follow rules, Diego snapped. Marisol closed her eyes briefly. This is not about rules. This is about you wanting to control me. Diego's laugh crackled through the phone. Control you? Mari, you're the one who can't control yourself. Marisol's hands shook. She looked at her kids, Sophia pretending not to listen, Mateo openly listening because Mateo didn't know how to fake it yet. Marisol lowered her voice. Not here. Diego's tone sharpened. Oh, so you're embarrassed? You should be. Because you're acting like... Like what? Marisol hissed. Like a spender, Diego said, disgust heavy in the word. Like a woman who'll bankrupt her family because she wants to play Mom of the Year at HEB. Marisol felt heat flood her face. This is for the kids. Diego's voice dropped. Put it back. Marisol breathed in slowly, the way she did when Sophia had tantrums. The way you do when you're trying not to explode. No, she said quietly. There was a pause. Silence, thick as oil. Then Diego said, soft and lethal, Okay, then watch what happens. The call ended. A second later, Marisol's phone buzzed again. Account alert. Transactions disabled. Marisol stared at the screen. She felt like she'd been slapped in public. Sophia walked up. Mom, what's wrong? Marisol forced a smile that probably looked like a grimace. Nothing, just a problem with the card. Sophia's eyes narrowed in that way kids do when they know you're lying but don't know why. Did Dad do it? Marisol's heart squeezed. "No, honey." Mateo, oblivious and honest, shouted, "Dad did it! Dad's mad!" A couple nearby glanced over. Marisol wanted to melt into the linoleum. She wheeled the cart toward the register anyway because a part of her still hoped maybe it was a glitch. Maybe her card would work. Maybe Diego wouldn't go that far. But Diego always went far once he decided something was a lesson. At the register, the cashier was a teenage boy with a bored expression. He scanned the items. Beep, 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 like he was counting down to the end of his shift. "Total is $86.42, he said. Marisol held her card out like a fragile thing. Swipe. The machine thought for a second. Then, declined. The cashier blinked. Do you have another card?" Marisol swallowed. "Let me try again." Swipe. Declined. Sophia stood there clutching the sneakers. Mateo stared at the candy rack like he was suddenly very interested in not witnessing his parents' marriage fall apart in public. Marisol felt her face burn. The cashier tried to be polite, but his voice got louder because there was a line behind them. "It's not going through," he said. Marisol's voice came out thin. Okay, sorry, I'll figure it out." Behind her, someone sighed dramatically. Marisol looked down at the items, glue sticks, pencils, shoes, and felt rage flare, sudden and alive. This wasn't about money, it was about power. She pulled out her phone and called Diego back without even thinking. He answered immediately, like he'd been waiting. "Yeah?" he said. Marisol's voice shook. "You declined the card." Diego's tone was flat. "I told you." Marisol glanced around. People were watching now. Not staring, but noticing. You could feel it when someone's private life became public entertainment. Sophia whispered, "Mom." Marisol's eyes stung. Diego said, "Put it back. I'll unlock it when you're home." Marisol's hands trembled. "Do you hear yourself?" Diego's voice sharpened. "Do you hear yourself? You're in a store making a scene because you can't follow a budget." Marisol's breath hitched. Something in her snapped fully this time, loud and clear. She didn't lower her voice anymore. "You're not budgeting," she said, voice rising. "You're punishing me." Diego's tone turned cold. "Watch your mouth." Marisol felt tears threaten, but anger held them back. "You're punishing the kids, too." Diego scoffed. "They'll live." Sophia flinched like she'd been hit by the words. Marisol's vision tunneled, and she saw, suddenly, the whole story in one bright, brutal image. A man who once saved his family from debt now holding their life hostage with a phone app. A hero turned jailer. She looked at Sophia and Mateo, two little faces trying to understand adult cruelty. And Marisol said the words that changed everything. "I'm done." Diego's voice went sharp. "What?" Marisol swallowed, and her voice came out steady in a way that surprised even her. "I'm done being controlled." Diego laughed like she was joking. "Marisol." But Marisol turned, right there at the register, and looked at the cashier. "I'm sorry," she said, voice tight. "Cancel it." The cashier nodded quickly, relieved. Marisol took the sneakers from Sophia's hands and set them back in the cart gently, like putting down a dream. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "But I need them." Marisol's chest cracked. "I know, baby, I know." Diego's voice on the phone was suddenly urgent. "Don't do this." Marisol looked straight ahead and spoke into the phone like she was speaking to a courtroom. "You call me a spender," she said. "You shame me. You cut me off like I'm your employee. You're not protecting the budget, Diego. You're controlling me." Diego's voice hissed. "You're embarrassing me." Marisol laughed once, sharp and broken. "Oh my God, I'm embarrassing you? You locked your wife out of her own money in a grocery store with your kids watching." People were definitely looking now. Marisol didn't care anymore. "You're a jailer," she said, loud enough that Sophia heard and Mateo heard and strangers heard. "You're not my husband. You're my warden." Diego's voice went low. Don't you ever. Marisol cut him off. And I'm not doing this anymore, she said. Not in front of the kids, not behind the kids, not at all. Sophia whispered, trembling. Mom, please. Marisol knelt beside her, right there near the conveyor belt, and wiped Sophia's cheeks with her thumb. We're okay, Marisol whispered. We're okay. I promise. Then she stood up, grabbed the cart, and pushed it away from the register like she was pushing away the version of her life where Diego got to decide what she deserved. Diego was still talking, but his voice was just noise now. Marisol ended the call. Her hands were shaking. Her legs felt like rubber. But she was walking. When she got home, Diego was already there. He'd left work early, because when control was threatened, Diego always found time. He stood in the kitchen like a storm wearing a man's body. Boots, work shirt, jaw tight enough to crack teeth. Marisol walked in with the kids behind her. Diego's eyes went straight to the empty hands. No bags, he said, voice flat. Marisol set her keys down slowly. No bags. Diego's nostrils flared. So you decided to throw a tantrum. Marisol's voice stayed calm because she refused to give him the satisfaction of chaos. The card was declined. Diego shrugged. And Sophia needs shoes, Marisol said. Mateo needs jeans. They need supplies. Diego's eyes flashed. They need discipline. Sophia made a small sound, half sob, half breath. Marisol's head snapped toward Diego. Don't. Diego turned his attention to Sophia, his face changing into that dad mask he could wear when it benefited him. Hey, he said, soft, too soft. It's okay. Your mom just needs to learn how money works. Marisol felt her stomach drop. The manipulation, using the kids as a stage. Marisol stepped forward. Do not talk about me like that to them. Diego's softness vanished instantly. Then don't act like that, he snapped. Mateo clung to Marisol's leg. Mommy. Marisol took a deep breath and pointed toward the hallway. Go to your room, both of you. Please, watch a movie. Give Mommy a minute. Sophia hesitated. Mom. Marisol softened her voice. Go, mija. Please. They went, slow and scared. Marisol watched them disappear and felt something ache so deep it made her vision blur. Then she turned back to Diego. Diego was already holding his phone up like evidence. I tracked your location, he said. I know exactly where you were. Marisol stared. You tracked me. Diego shrugged. It's for safety. Marisol laughed, a sound with no humor. For safety. Right, because HEB is so dangerous. Diego's face darkened. Don't twist it. Marisol stepped closer. No, you don't get to twist everything and call it love. Diego's voice rose. I pulled us out of debt. I saved us. Marisol's eyes burned. And now you act like saving us means owning us. Diego slammed his phone down on the counter. I'm protecting our budget. Marisol's voice rose too, finally matching him. No, you're controlling me and calling it protection. Diego's eyes flashed. You think I like doing this? You think I enjoy being the bad guy? Marisol's laugh cracked. You do enjoy it. You like watching me ask permission. You like the power. Diego's face went red. That's not true. Marisol's voice dropped low, deadly calm. Then stop. Diego stared at her, breathing hard. Marisol continued, each word sharp with truth. Stop checking every transaction like it's a crime. Stop setting limits like I'm a child. Stop shaming me in front of our kids. Stop punishing us with money. Diego's jaw worked, and then he said the thing that made Marisol go cold. If you can't follow rules, he said, voice low, you don't get access. Marisol stared at him. Access? Diego didn't blink. Yeah, access. Marisol's voice trembled, not with fear, but with fury. Do you hear how you talk? Like I'm not your wife, like I'm property. Diego's eyes flickered. For a second, something like doubt flashed there. Then it hardened into pride. "I'm the one who earns it," he said. Marisol inhaled slowly, and with that breath she realized this wasn't a phase. This wasn't stress. This was a pattern, a spiral. Marisol nodded once like she'd made a decision. "Okay," she said. Diego's brow furrowed. "Okay, what?" Marisol looked him straight in the eyes. "If you want to make me ask permission to buy shoes for our kids, then we don't have a marriage. We have a prison." Diego's face tightened. "Don't be dramatic." Marisol's voice stayed steady. "I'm not being dramatic. I'm being honest." Diego stepped closer. "So what are you going to do?" Marisol held his gaze. "I'm going to choose a life where my children don't watch their mother beg." Diego scoffed. "You're not going anywhere." Marisol's voice turned quiet. "Watch me." This is where stories like this split, because some couples hit the wall and decide to rebuild, and some hit the wall and decide to burn everything down just to feel warm. So here are the two endings, two possible futures, both real, both common, both shaped by one choice. Will the hero admit he became the villain? Or will he double down until love turns into ash? That night, Marisol didn't scream. She didn't throw things. She didn't beg. She did something Diego wasn't prepared for. She got organized. She waited until the kids were asleep, then sat at the kitchen table with her laptop and opened a document. At the top, she typed, "Family Money Agreement." Diego walked in and stared. "What is that?" Marisol didn't look up. "The rules. Since you love rules." Diego snorted. "Finally." Marisol raised her eyes, calm and unflinching. "These are joint rules, not your rules." Diego's smile faded. Marisol turned the laptop so he could see. 1. No disabling cards, ever. 2. Shared access to all accounts, equal passwords. 3. A monthly budget meeting, scheduled, calm, no kids present. 4. A kids needs fund that does not require permission. 5. Personal spending allowance for both adults, equal, no shaming. 6. Therapy, individual and couples, non-negotiable. 7. If any rule is broken, we pause and bring it to therapy, not punishment. Diego stared at it like it was written in another language. Marisol's voice was soft but firm. "This is the only way I stay." Diego's jaw tightened. "You're threatening me." Marisol shook her head. "I'm protecting my kids." Diego opened his mouth to argue, then stopped, because something in Marisol's face told him she wasn't bluffing. The next week, they sat in a therapist's office. Diego showed up stiff, arms crossed, looking like a man forced into court. The therapist, an older Latina woman with calm eyes, looked at Diego and asked, "When did money become your weapon?" Diego scoffed. "It's not a weapon." The therapist nodded slowly. "Then why does it hurt your wife?" Diego's mouth tightened. Marisol didn't cry. She didn't plead. She just said, quietly, "I'm tired of being punished." Diego's eyes flickered. The therapist leaned forward. "Diego, you once saved your family from debt. That's real. That's admirable. But somewhere along the way, you confused security with control." Diego's throat worked. Marisol watched him, heart pounding because this was the moment. Would he fight the truth? Or would he face it? Diego exhaled, slow, painful. "I was scared," he said, voice rough. "I thought, if I didn't hold it tight, it would disappear." Marisol's chest tightened. The therapist nodded. "Fear makes people grip. Love makes people share." Diego looked at Marisol then. Really looked. "I didn't mean to," he started. Marisol's voice cut in, gentle but sharp. "But you did." Diego swallowed hard, eyes shining in a way Marisol hadn't seen in years. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm sorry I made you feel small." Marisol's breath hitched, because apologies didn't fix everything. But they were a door, and for the first time in a long time, Diego reached for a door instead of a lock. They rebuilt slowly. Not perfectly, but differently. Diego deleted the tracking app. He gave Marisol full access. He stopped surprising her with limits. And when Sophia needed shoes again months later, Marisol bought them without fear. And Diego, standing beside her in the store, didn't check his phone once. He just knelt beside Sophia and tied her laces. "You comfortable?" he asked. Sophia nodded. Diego looked up at Marisol and his eyes said something simple. "I'm trying." Marisol nodded back, not as surrender, but as agreement. Because love wasn't the grand gesture. It was the daily choice not to turn fear into a cage. Diego didn't go to therapy. Diego didn't read the agreement. Diego looked at Marisol's calm face and mistook it for weakness. Overreacting, he called it. Drama, he called it. Ungrateful, he called her. And Marisol, who had spent years swallowing herself, stopped swallowing. She opened a separate account with her own paycheck deposits. Diego found out and exploded. He called it betrayal. Marisol called it survival. Diego tightened control like a fist. He cut her allowance. He demanded receipts. He started bringing up every purchase from the past like a prosecutor. In front of the kids, he'd sigh and say, "Your mom likes spending money, huh?" Sophia grew quiet. Mateo started wetting the bed again. Marisol's mother noticed the change in Marisol's voice, the way she asked permission for everything, even things that didn't require it. One night, after Diego locked her out of the account again because she bought Mateo cough medicine without texting first, Marisol stood in the bathroom and stared at her reflection. She didn't look like a woman. She looked like someone waiting for permission to exist. And she realized, if she stayed, her children would learn that love means control, that marriage means humiliation, that a man can call himself a hero while using money like a whip. So Marisol did the hardest thing. She left, quietly. She packed the kids' clothes while Diego was at work. She took important documents. She called her mom with shaking hands and said, "I need help." Her mom didn't ask questions. She just said, "Come." When Diego came home to an empty house, he panicked. Not because he missed her, but because he'd lost access to what he thought was his. He called, he texted, he threatened, then he cried. Then he threatened again. Marisol's lawyer used the words Marisol hadn't dared say out loud. Financial abuse, coercive control. Diego called it lies. Marisol called it finally naming the monster. The custody fight was ugly. Diego tried to paint Marisol as irresponsible, a spender, a liar, but the bank records told the truth. The card locks, the limits, the patterns. The judge didn't look impressed. Sophia started therapy. Mateo did too. Marisol got a job with more hours. She learned to live on her own terms again. Tight budget, yes, but no fear. One day, months later, Sophia came home from school and said quietly, "Mom, are we poor?" Marisol knelt and held her face gently. "No," she said, "we're free." Sophia blinked. "Free?" Marisol nodded. "Free." And in that moment, Marisol understood the final cruelty of Diego's protection. He was so terrified of losing money, he lost his family. Because love can survive struggle, but love cannot survive a cage. Somewhere in Texas tonight, someone is checking a bank app like it's a heartbeat. Somewhere, someone is buying deodorant and feeling like a criminal. Somewhere, a hero is calling control protection, because it sounds better that way. But love, real love, doesn't require permission. And war. War starts the moment a partner turns money into a weapon. This was forbidden spending. And the line between love and war? Sometimes it's as thin as a declined card in aisle 17.